God damn it. Let the unseen commence. There we go. As far as I know. That's my computer freaking out. Wow, that's really funny. Yeah, the mail program is actually like just making the mail noise repeatedly. Yeah, wow. All interfaces are shut down too. So, yeah, yeah. Who's got a shell on my box? All right, so I'm going to show a few videos before we really get cranking. If I can figure out which way to move my mouse. Man, we need a monitor on stage. Oh, it came over to my screen. That's useful. We'll just show it here.
Now let's review some of the neat hacker skills that you'll want to know before arriving at ShmooCon.
It's time to start.
Neat hacker skill number 1, get your ticket. Ready, go. Neat hacker skill number 2, engage the speaker. Ready, go. Neat hacker skill number 3, smash the stack. Ready, go. Neat hacker skill number 4, respect the shmoo. Ready, go.
Here's the other one. Oops. Oh, hey, what happened there?
We don't need to watch the other one.
I don't even know.
Who's that? Is that mommy?
All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to ShmooCon. Some very important information regarding your badges. You're going to get this wire form that's called your wicket. This is your ticket. Your ticket's a giant sticker. You're going to take your ticket. You're going to fold it in half. You're going to stick it around your wicket. So you're going to wicket, ticket, stick it. Got it?
Yay!
So a funny thing happened. Beyond all the other funny things that have happened. The tickets, the badges arrive at the house as per usual the 2 days before the conference. And they come out of I open them out of the box, and they're on these big rolls, and they're ski lift tickets. And I started skiing about the same time I could walk. In the winter time, there was a ski area right down the road from my house that I would hitchhike to when I was 5. Okay, my parents are good parents, but there were some sketchy moments, I'll be honest. But I like, in my brain, I understand what a ski lift ticket is and how to attach it to a wicket and put it on something. And we had 3 people at our house, and I pulled out the badges. They're like, "What are those?" I'm like, "Oh, they're the badges this year." And one person's like, "Cool, ski lift tickets." The other people go, "What the hell is that? What do I do with it?" And it dawned on me that not everyone knows how to ski and has ever put these things on the wicket and hung it on anything before. So out of curiosity, how many people did something besides put it on the wicket? Anyone? 1, 2, you can admit it, it's cool. That's actually way better failure rate than I anticipated. I thought we were gonna have a secondary line of people coming up like, "I put it on my face, it won't come off, I need some kerosene and a new ticket." So that worked out. So Heidi made the video and we went down the line and explained it. So hopefully none of you were injured in the process. So I'd like to start out, people wonder what happened to the moose. What's funny is I went looking for moose recipes, and I found this recipe for moose meatloaf with dandelion pesto, which seems kind of decadent. It's not often you get to eat. Except for that's not meatloaf, but it didn't really dawn on me. I thought maybe it's just really soupy meatloaf. It turns out that it's stew, and it's seal stew. So that's extra decadent. The only thing more decadent you could do, anyone seen Pirates, the movie where they have baby seal nuggets? Whenever you've gotten an endangered animal that you've killed and you've decided like it needs to be so decadent that I grind up the parts into a nugget just because I can, I think that's fantastic. So you'll notice the moose is gone. So for those that were here last year, we had this moose on stage as a feedback mechanism, and I think really I must applaud the speakers from last year for not throwing the moose off the stage because it was a little annoying at times. And the moose not being here and what you probably noticed was in your bags is back. Yeah, we'll get into that. I'm at a press conference now. I have 3 microphones pointed at my face. 2 of them are lavalier ones held on with gaff tape. So we are doing it right. Every year when we put on the conference, we're sitting around talking. It always strikes me we kind of have this debate about what is ShmooCon, and it turns into a debate about the industry and what's good and what's bad. And I think we've always kind of fancied ourselves willing to do things that other organizations aren't willing to do. We're not in this to make money. We're just out here to have fun and to do the right thing for the community. And sometimes we get in a rut and we do the same thing over and over without thinking, is this what we really should be doing? Is this the best thing for you as attendees and for the greater InfoSec community at large? And what's interesting is when we started this 9 years ago, the InfoSec community is incredibly different than what it is today. 9 years ago, it seemed like we were begging for attention at, say, the executive presidential level for cybersecurity or whatever the heck we called it back then. I can't recall. But now, there was a release along with the State of the Union about the president's vision for cybersecurity. So it turns out it's kind of important. And a lot of us do this for a living. A lot of us still do it for a hobby. But the environment's changed. And so we like to keep pace with that change with a conference. And that's not to say other conferences don't do the same. We're not novel. We're not unique in that regard. But I felt it was worth today having a discussion with you about what we think ShmooCon is, why we do it, things we're going to do differently next year. And again, for those that have been here before, we try to be very transparent. Okay, so every year we have a talk called Own the Con, and we provide all our financial information, we provide information about the networks, the swag that we got, the gear that we bought, the mistakes that we made. The mistakes we made are important, because you don't want to make the same mistakes. There's no reason in this industry why we should make the same mistakes as other people, but we do a damn good job of it, right? You know, it's funny, but it sucks. It's kind of embarrassing at times, you know, how often we'll reinvent the same problem over and over, you know, and I'm not calling out Microsoft here, but the ping of death came back, you know, it's like, cool, man, that was a fun one, like one pack, oh, look, the box blue screen, it's like 10 years later, we get to do it again, you know. We see these things, and developing an operating system is complicated, regression testing is complicated, I'm not here to ding them, but man, it's a big corpus of knowledge to keep track of, and in our space, just running this conference, which we do part-time. You know, I have so much respect for ShmooCon volunteers and the amount of effort that they put into this. If I didn't work for myself, I would have fired myself a long time ago, given the amount of time that I spend working on the con as opposed to actually doing my job. So we run this Own the Con thing, and we provide all these numbers and whatever. That happens this year, Saturday, as the last talk. Normally it's Sunday, but we got sick of doing that and then the closing panel and then closing, like it was just a little much. So we moved it to the last talk on Saturday. We're not trying to pull you away from other talks. It's recorded, we put it online for posterity to help you understand, to help other conferences understand. We want to be as transparent as we can. So I'm not going to talk about numbers. I'm going to talk more about philosophy. If you want to learn numbers, go watch the Own the Con talk. So on our website, we have 4 tenets that we say this is what ShmooCon is. The granddaddy of the conference, Beetle, I don't think Beetle's here this year. Beetle ran this thing for a couple years and then handed it over to Heidi to run. And he came up with these 4 things, and they've kind of stayed on the website the whole time. And that's not to say we don't like to update our content, but we don't update the content very often. So we're not big fans of this web thing. You know, I still maintain my private Gopher server, but I don't see a lot of traffic on it these days. My business cards have Gopher on it, and most browsers just barf now. So all the old school guys giggle. A lot of people Googling, what's Gopher? Tweet. So we stayed at basically the same price for years, okay? Now, what's interesting is we used to do a tiered model. For those that remember, it was a pay what you think it was worth model. And we had like 100, 150, and 300 or something like that, or 75, 150, 300. And the average price is about 150 bucks. That a few years ago decayed into pay whatever the hell you can get your hands on. So it was obvious to pay what you thought it was worth model. It was done, and we went to a flat rate, and it's worked pretty well. And so the idea here is that we want to be able to run the con with your money, and then we get sponsors, which I'll talk about in a minute, and they add to the con. You know, we don't need the sponsors to run it. We don't, have to take it. We're funny because a lot of events get a lot of money from sponsors, and they really have to, I guess, not do what the sponsors want, but they certainly have to pay attention to their sponsors. And we try to take care of our sponsors, don't get me wrong, but since we don't need them, it's relatively easy for us when people come saying, well, I'll give you a ton of money. I know sponsorship's closed, but I'll give you a bunch. And we're like, stiff arm. We don't need a ton of money. Like, we have all the money we need. All it does is hurt our taxes at the end of the year. So to hell with it, we're not going to take the money. And so we try to give you as much bang for the buck as you can get. So, it's a nice place. We have nice fancy projectors, you get all kinds of swag, we're able to help the different contests that are here and give them gear and help them out. So, we're really able to make a big difference, I think, by trying to give you back most of the money that you give us. We also have a really big party. I'll get to that in a bit too. Some people may only be here wondering about the party. You can come back in 20 minutes if you want to get up and leave. There are certainly cheaper hotels. But the challenge is around here in cheaper hotels try not to have too much space. So we like this size. It's a good size to meet new people, but not to be overwhelmed and feel like you're constantly at a club. And so we stick to about this size. And in downtown DC, there's maybe half a dozen hotels that can accommodate an event this size. And so as long as we're in DC, we're going to be somewhere like this. Speaking of, we list accessible on the site. And there's 2 very different ways to think about accessibility, right? There's the physically accessible, like Union Station's right frickin' there. It's really easy. This is the first time it's been easy to get from BWI to here, which is nice. I guess in a couple years it'll be easy to get from Dulles once they finish tearing up half of Northern Virginia to build Yeah, also not funny, my God. Like, how long have we all spent in traffic collectively, like losing money and losing our freaking mind? Oh, good, there'll be a subway for the 8 people that live next to Wheelie Avenue. Like, I live in Wheelie Avenue, woohoo! Sure, you're the guy. But the other issue is logically accessible, right? Like, are you able to get tickets? Are you able to come here and access the information in a meaningful way to learn something? You know, it's interesting because we get sponsors ask us, well, first of all, we don't keep a list. Second of all, we certainly don't keep demographics. But, you know, it's a huge cross-section. Like, I know people, there's directors of agencies that show up here. There's college students and high school students that show up. A little bit of everybody, which we like. You know, we got people from the East Coast, got people from the West Coast, got people from overseas. You know, it's a good mix. And the accessible thing tends to go hand in hand with affordable for us because when you're relatively inexpensive, a lot of people want to come, and then we have situations like this year where we sold out in 19.65 seconds. It's pretty fast. It could have been faster. You didn't try hard enough. Actually, I think a lot of our anti-bot technology gets in the way of people of selling out faster because the bots all get stuck, and then people, oh shit, and they got to figure out what to do to bypass whatever little CAPTCHA thing we put in. We had real CAPTCHAs for a while, but it turns out no one likes them. And for people with a bot, when it sells out that quickly, the bots get stopped, and as long as they're stopped for 5 seconds, real people get passed. And that's always just been our goal. If you want to write software, man, like have at it, but our goal is to make it fair for real people too, not to make it impossible for everybody. But it gets into this discussion of what means fair, right? And every year, well, first of all, it's interesting because what's fair to people who made it to the con is potentially different than what's fair to people who didn't make it to the conference, right? People, did you like the size? Yes. Did you like it this year? Yes, it was fantastic. You asked the people that didn't get a ticket? No, you jerk, I didn't get to go. I didn't like it at all. I had to sit at home and watch it on Ustream and get loaded on bourbon that didn't cost $20 a shot. I think Space Rogue got a deal for $12 a shot last night. You can hook him up with, hey Rogue, how's it going? Like, he was really excited about his one $12 shot. He's still nursing it. Jesus. So it's discussion of what's fair. And so, have you never been here before? Do we wait it to people that have never been? Come experience ShmooCon. If you've never been, come here. We'd like to have you. That makes sense. What about people that have been here before? Well, I've been here before and I've met a lot of people. You know, I got a strong connection. I should be first in line. I've spoken here. I should be first in line. I've been rejected and I should be first in line. You know, whatever it is. I mean, there's lots of ways to view this, and a lot of times it's selfish, and a lot of times it's altruistic. You know people that you think would be a good fit to come here. And so far, our idea of fair has been FIFO, right? There's an Ethernet cable, and it comes into our server, and that Ethernet cable is just a big queue that goes across the nation, right? And that's all the packets stack into it, 1, 2, 3, and at 200, nope, you're done. You know, we can just check it off. That's basically how things run. You'll note I said one server. That's right. For those that remember the Moose cluster, it is no more. We run it on a single thread, on a single box, and it runs fan-frickin-tastic. That is not an invitation to DOS us. Just had to get that all in one sentence. So, something that we're going to do next year is say, look, one group of people we feel very strongly should be here are students, okay? That we go to universities, I go to universities, and they keep inviting me back to talk. I don't care how many F-bombs I drop in front of some advisor, they think it's great, you know, oh, come on back, the kids love you. It's like, yeah, no shit. You know, they're coming through these institutions are trying to change, trying to catch up with the curriculum, trying to keep pace, you know, and what I find year over year after year when I go to the college campuses, it's still the student-run organizations that are at the pointy end of the spear when it comes to information security. Right? We have CCDC, we have all these clubs, they're running their own contests, they're doing all this kind of stuff, and they're doing things that the professors don't have time to put together, they don't have the knowledge, whatever it is. And when you go to a university and you see students who are that motivated, who want to engage and want to be part of this industry, it's hard to tell them, no, you can't come to the con. No, you don't get to come here. I know you want to learn, I know this would probably have an amazing impact in your life. No. So what we're going to do next year, and this is kind of a proposal that's not, you know, fully baked, but it's The numbers aren't big, but the idea here is, all right, we're going to have two pricing models, one flat, 150, then we're going to have one that's higher, say 3 times face value. And everyone that buys 3 times the face value, they get their own admission, but they also buy admission for 2 students. That doesn't mean they get to handpick the students. That just means that they're paying for 2 people to get in. The students can apply. We'll then accept, however many that we release. In this case, the calculus is 30 students, and we'll let them in for free. They'll be on their own for travel, and maybe we can even find a way, to get sponsorship for that. But the idea here is get more students, get more people who are early in their life, just getting into the industry, help them get engaged and help them come down here. So that's the plan for next year. If you have feedback on that, we'd love to hear it. If you're at universities or whatever and you have feedback, we'd love to hear that too. I was hoping there'd be some applause. I'm like, wow, I thought it was kind of a cool thing. They all thought it sucked. Take a lot of drinks of water. I didn't actually watch the State of the Union, but I did see Jon Stewart's thing on the Daily Show about the State of the Union, so I guess there was a lot of water drinking. Really didn't follow it. Okay, it wasn't that funny. Excellent. So another conversation we get into is where does ShmooCon fit into the scheme of security conferences? Now it's interesting. Again, 9 years ago, there were a lot of security conferences. Today, there's a lot of security conferences. It's hard to look at the calendar and not be like, I could attend any domestic security conference any day of the week, any day of the year, except maybe Christmas. But even then, you're probably supposed to be on a flight over to CCC, right? Not a lot of people going to CCC in this room, I guess. It's interesting because there are conferences that really focus on offensive work. There's things like CanSec and other conferences that are really good at breaking stuff. There's other conferences that are all about compliance. Other conferences, about they're very maker-centric and whatever. And that's certainly not been a focus for us. A lot of what the Shmoo Group originally was defenders. We did IT security, we did software security stuff, we did crypto, we did all that kind of stuff. And we were focused on protection. And I think what we see when we build the program committee and when we build the conference, you see a lot of that defensive flair, but not operational defense, right? We're not big on configuring firewalls and IDSs. We're big on trying to bring the next big defensive technology to the forefront and help people make a better case for here's a better way to defend your networks, your systems, whatever it is you're trying to defend. So we got rid of the break-it track. You'll note there's still some break-it looking things in the schedule. It's hard to run a security conference and not have a lot of offensive type talks submitted, and frankly to have some very good ones that we think light needs to be shed upon. But the ones that we accepted, I think, were kind of in the context of, hey, this is something we really need to focus on defense. It wasn't, hey, here's just another thing that I broke. Which there's value in that, but that's not really necessarily our focus. So, we have our unique niche, and it may not be the leadest, it may not be the coolest, most cutting edge, but I think in our mind, it's, what we think is important for the community to hear. Another thing that we do is we limit attendee size. So now this is a really interesting problem. There's a couple of things that happen when you limit attendee size. One, we give you a kind of unique experience to say, look, 1,700 isn't like 4 people. It's not like people are going to invite to your house. This is a larger gathering than most people would have in their dining room. If you have a dining room that would fit this, I would love to be your friend. But it is, however, small enough that you can, interact with the same people over the course of the weekend and learn and hang out and whatever. And so, we've really come to like this size. But when you compare the idea of, hey, we want to do the right thing for the community, and part of that is really the speakers and the contests and things getting their message out and getting it known throughout the community. Someone does a cool piece of research, like the world should know about that cool piece of research, right? And when we limit attendance, yeah, we stream it, we post it on the website, but it's not quite the same as being here. So it's a real challenge to balance that, hey, we think everyone needs to hear this important stuff that's happening, versus the flip side of, but don't let everyone in to find out what's happening, right? It's a little awkward. So we try to give away a lot. We stream the video in real time. We post it on the videos on our website. They're not flash encoded. They're not on YouTube or whatever. They're on our website. They're MPEG-4. There's no DRM. You can download and distribute and do whatever the hell you want with them. Burn our bandwidth up. It's fantastic. That's what we want to have happen. We don't get ad revenue from it or anything. This is what we spend money on. It's for you to get the content for free. We help other cons financially, technically, volunteer support. You know, what if conferences need help getting up in the air, you'll help them out. You'll note in your program, you know, there's a list of upcoming conferences. You know, we don't have any irons in this fire. These are just good conferences that we go to and we think you should be aware of. So if this is your first conference, cool. There's lots of others. You should consider going to them. So it's interesting, though, when you talk about how do we increase the blast radius of what happens here, one thing that I think we shied away from and we're looking to change is engaging the press, right? The press can be your friend or your foe. It's all about how the argument's framed, right? So what we're going to try to do next year is take a better approach at engaging the press, because when the press write about something, you know, it gets retweeted, it gets put on Slashdot, you know, unless if it's a blog post or whatever, it's really hard for it to get the level of visibility that you get when CNET writes about it or BBC writes about it or something like that. So to date, we've had kind of this, if the press want to come, you know, that's cool, you know, we'll credential a handful of them, but we don't want them running around causing problems. Whatever. And it turns out most press don't want to cause problems because they want to be able to come back, right? Press don't like to piss their sources off, which is kind of, somebody told me that. I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Like, I don't know why I was so adversarial with these jackasses. I don't talk to the press anymore. I've had enough bad experience, but y'all are welcome to. We will have formal press releases, targeted press invites, and all that kind of thing. And again, that's not because we're trying to run a leader con. You know, I don't care if they don't mention the conference. They could say a bunch of hackers got together in DC. Like, it was just a spontaneous flash mob of hackers. Like, woo, hey, we're all gonna do the Macarena, or whatever the hip thing is these days, you know? Macarena and Gangnam Style right in the same. Psy will strike me dead. Not before he sings about it as a bard. Psy as a bard, can you imagine that? Sitting there playing a little whatever they played in the olden days, riding a horse. It's a good visual, people. You should run with that. So the idea here is, though, to bring them in and get a better exposure for the attendees and for the ideas being presented. We also want it to be entertaining. I think we pretty well have that one figured out for the most part. The giant moose heads are gone. For those, one of the reasons we started the con is we were sitting around bullshitting in Vegas during Black Hat and DEF CON one year, and we were kind of sick of some of the crap. People on stage just saying totally outrageous things and no one calling them on their shit, right? And then the press would report on it, and it would get all this publicity, and we'd be like, what in the hell? Like, why, you're not checking this? You don't, well, the press doesn't know enough about the background, it doesn't know the technology, so they'll just report, this person said this, so, you know, whatever, it all sounds good. But I know even like within the Shmoo group, we would do projects, we would release them, we'd even present them at DEF CON and not make a big stink about it, and then 2 years later, somebody else would do exactly the same research, and they'd be covered by like 15 news outlets. And I'm like, this is not fundamentally different than what we did. And it's not like we're trying to, you know, media whore ourselves, but there's no attention span here. No, there's no due diligence. There's no citation of previous work. It drove us nuts. And so we decided when we started the con, we were going to try to have a better way to have direct feedback to the speaker in real time, right? Because it's one thing to send a nastygram to the speaker like 3 weeks after his talk, like, I think you're full of shit, signed anonymous. You know, it's like, cool, that did a lot. He'll just put it on Twitter and he'll look like a jerk. So we armed everyone with squishy foam rubber balls and called them Shmoo balls and encouraged them to throw them at the speaker as a sign of discontent. And it worked really well until the Snowmageddon. And it wasn't because of the Snowmageddon, but I think it was enhanced because there were weaponized Shmoo ball launching devices, tread tracks, and GPS targeting. It was really... I got hit in the chest and I had a bruise, man. Like, it was not screwing around, painful. I didn't even know the contest was gonna happen. Someone's like, oh, by the way, there's a Shmoo ball launching contest this year. I was like, the hell you say? But then we all got locked in a hotel and you're like, all right, what harm can come? Anyway, so then after a few years, we said, all right, enough of that, because honestly, it was getting to be a liability. And so one year we did these little, signs. Who's here for the whiteboard signs? You had to write on the whiteboard and hold up your thing. And so then you got these whiteboard signs, which are smaller than the back of this laptop on a stick. People are holding them up in the back of the room, and the speaker's like, I-M-A-O. I'm not going to read that. But it was very interrupted. Like it did not. They weren't big enough. Like it turns out to really have good feedback in a written form, you'd need to arm everyone with whiteboards, which would just be awkward. I mean, it would be beyond the expense of it, walking down the hall. We'd need a space 20 times as large. And so then last year we had these moose, and the idea was that you could basically ping the moose online if you disagreed, and as the moose got angrier, its eyes would glow, and then it got really angry, it'd blare a horn. Well, the problem was that was not instantaneous feedback. So the speaker would say something outlandish 5 minutes into his talk, and then 15 minutes later, you'd be like, what the hell? So our keynote's up on stage, saying something completely useful. It's going crazy. I'm like, well, this is not working. So we brought the Shmoo ball back. In case you're wondering, the stick figure is me. It was really well hidden. I'm a good literary. Anyway, please try to control yourself with the Shmoo balls. You can bean speakers, you throw them. You're on the hook if you cause any damage. Usually, what we found is the big shiny things at the ceiling are brittle, and they will break. These look particularly lethal. They don't look like acrylic. They look actually like glass. I know at the Nauticon venue at the Holiday Inn, I remember one year they had these it was somehow like Superman's ice cave hanging from the ceiling, and someone threw something once and a whole thing of it just cleaved off, and I thought that could have been our conference. So if you're gonna throw them, try to have a good arc. You don't want to be the person in the front row. You don't want to hit the lights. Just control yourself. Just hit me. I feel like I'm a good target. If you disagree with the speaker, you can walk out of the room, find me, and hit me, and I'm cool with that. I am totally cool. And I have to tell this story. I don't know how long I got here. This is at DEF CON, I want to say 7, maybe 8. And who's been to DEF CON? I don't know if they do this much anymore, but they used to throw out just crap into the audience that I don't know if DT and Priest would just bring their leftover electronics that they didn't want to recycle and be like, who wants a 10 base 2 card? It's ISA. Oh! Sweet, I have an ISA nothing. But it didn't matter what it was because everyone wanted the souvenir that Priest threw, right? And so Priest would be up there with and some of it was good stuff. I mean, they had good swag and he would throw it out there and they would start asking questions. So there was a couple issues with this. One, he would railroad whatever talk he was standing in front of, and I know Priest isn't here, but God help me, I'm not trying to give him shit because he will break my neck. Priest is a big dude, big. He enforces. And Priest would get in there, and we were talking, me and Adam Shan, this other Shmoo, were talking on some wireless stuff in one of the outside tents. And for anyone that remember the outside tents, they were bad on a good day, and when the coolers went dead, they were like death. And so we're up there in the front row, and the talk in front of us is running late. I don't think Shand had ever given a talk, especially not in a venue that big. There's probably a little bit bigger than this, maybe 2,000 people in the room. And he is sweating bullets when we walk into there, and then he's super nervous. And he's sitting there I'm really worried he's going to dehydrate. That's how much he's sweating. And so finally the speaker in front of us gets done. And I'm like, okay, thank God we get up here before Shan has a coronary. And I go to get up, and Priest is like, no, I'm going to give away some shit. And I'm like, oh. So we're sitting there, and Adam's continuing to sweat. Priest gets up there, and he's got, 10 base 2 cards and whatever pre-USB thingies and chucking them out there. And then he's got his USR 5-blade switch. 19-inch cabinet, rack mountable, yay tall, 10 megabit only, with the power supplies in it, and I think 1 blade. So this is basically the most expensive 9 megabits of bandwidth you'll ever pass in your life. And he's like, I need some help throwing this. Who wants to come up? And there's this woman in the front row, and she raises her hand. He's like, come on up. And it was Jennifer 8, who is a reporter from the New York Times. Jennifer 8 is approximately this tall. I'm not disparaging. I don't think she's 5 feet tall. And she gets up there and is talking to Priest, who is double that, And so Priest is talking, hey, Jennifer, how's it going? And so then at some point, he's asking questions and nobody can answer, what's the 5th letter of this, just ridiculous questions. As Jennifer's holding this thing, can I throw it? Can I throw it? And finally he's like, yeah, throw it. And she just chucks it. She was strong. And this thing like flies over the head of me and Shan, like straight over him. Thank God, it would have like knocked all my teeth out. And it was funny because two things happen instantaneously. So it lands about 4 rows back, and the people who are in the flight path are trying to leave the flight path, and the other people then are trying to enter the flight path because they want the switch. And so you've got this kind of weird mass of people going, and the thing hits a chair, like at the back of the chair, right at the top of the chair, flips up, and boom, nails one of the guys who's trying to grab the switch, and he's like on the ground screaming. Somebody else like, I got the switch! And there's like a fight breaking out. And Priest and Jennifer are like, all right, stage is yours, and they walk away. I look over, and Adam had passed out, like, all right. So, there. Anyway, I tell a lot of stories. Should not give me a microphone. So, and really, what other conference gives you a security blanket? So, So, what? Nothing. No blanket comments. I should turn off notifications on Twitter. My phone's going crazy. So this one's not on the website, but I do want to bring it up. We want the conference to be useful. I mean, I think that's been kind of a undertone of a lot of this. Again, this is a lot of work. Like, it's seriously kind of an epic amount of work. Like, I think, we only throw a 1,700 person con. Like, we could be a lot bigger. And then you're like, it's 1,700 people. UPS, the place where we got the blankets from this year, normally ships to us on freight and we get it on skids. Now they've renegotiated rates and they ship with UPS. Not UPS freight, just UPS. I had a very pissed off UPS driver in my house. This entire truck is yours. And the kicker was we got done. He's like, thank God. I'm like, dude, there's more tomorrow. And he's like, no, there isn't. I'm like, okay. And he shows up the next day, he just standing in the driveway, like tapping his foot, like, really? So what's interesting, though, is, we do what we think is right for the community. We'd like to know what you think is right for the community. It doesn't mean that that's what we're going to do, but we need the feedback, right? We need to understand what's important to you, and the universe that you live in, whatever universe that is, we want to hear about it. So we are very open to feedback, positive and negative. We're willing to take risks. We're willing to do things differently, and we're willing to, if you tell us this is a piece of shit, you should never do it again, we'll listen to that too. When you put this much time into something, you want it to be for a reason. And that's a little selfish of me, I want to feel a little bit at the end of the day like this made a positive difference. And I'm kind of constantly amazed how many people come up to me years down the road and be like, ShmooCon 4 was my first conference ever, and it totally changed how I thought about the industry. And this is what I do for a living now, and I love it. And it's the greatest thing ever. I'm like, man, that is awesome. Like, I'd like to go thank all the speakers who you heard and all the people that, the contests that you went to and everything, because you are out doing something positive. So anyway, please, if it's not useful to you, if there's better ways to engage you, please let us know. So, after all of my waxing philosophical, my 2-year-old's about to bum rush me, I'm going to talk about the con. He's a tough little kid. He's really good at fuzzing. And by that, I mean, he'll pick up an iPad, unlock it. He's getting so he knows the numbers. And then he'll launch a game. And he can't read the instructions, but he knows how to play Angry Birds. He knows how to play all these other games, and he gets very good. He finds bugs in games. He plays Madden NFL on the iPhone, and he wins every time. You know why? Because he just hits buttons until he gets the outcome that he wants. And so some games don't have a good enough positive and negative feedback system for a 2-year-old to figure out. Other games are fantastic. And then games like Madden have glitches, where once he catches the ball, he can hammer on, go out of bounds, and showboat. And his character will then lay on the ground, showboating, and then sliding toward the out of bounds line. And he'll never fumble, and he's not tackleable. And he could go actually forward if he stops tackling and go on the bounds. I'm like, good job. So if you have complex programs that you would like fuzz, I will rent them out as a service. Just give him a keyboard and see what happens. Anyway, so the talks, we're keeping basically the same overall theme as the years before. Friday is a plenary session with all of you here in one room with short talks. And then Saturday, we're having 3 different talks. We got rid of Break It. It's just Belay It, Build It, and Bring It On. Build It is here. Belay It will be in the room that will be formed in the back of this room. They're going to move the air wall and close it up, and it'll be back there. And Bring It On is across the hallway over there. Whoop, there's no stairs. Okay. Bye-bye. Sunday, for those that know, we start with 3 tracks, and then we bust down this air wall, and we'll do a closing plenary panel just in here. So this is a test to see how distracted I can get. The answer is very. The one thing about Sunday, the break's really short between when we finish the last regular talk and go to the plenary. So I would advise you to have a lunch plan engaged. Whatever it is, you got 30 minutes to go out and get back. So we don't give you a lot of time because I know Sundays at conferences tend to get a little thin as people start breaking for flights. So we like to get as much content in as we can on Sundays. The network, so we do ShmooCon Labs every year. So the idea with ShmooCon Labs is we could just stand up a network and put some APs in place and have some volunteers do that. That's cool, but not that interesting as an attendee. We could also do training and charge people $1,500 a pop to come here and get trained on something. That's not very interesting from us from a financial perspective for you guys. So what we do instead is allow people to petition to attend the setup of the network itself. And we try to go way above and beyond what we normally need by creating an enterprise-grade network here at the con with intrusion detection and lots of visualization and other tools in place. Lots of extra networks, fancy routers, and that kind of thing. So as a lab attendee, you can come play with new gear that you never played with, learn advanced stuff, all under the guise of just supporting a 1,700 person con where everyone's trying to hack each other anyway. So there's a bunch of different networks. I don't even know if these network names are right, Branson. I just took them from last year's stuff, so nod. Okay. There's other networks, I'm sure. Saw some fancy networks today with what appear to be Unicode characters in them. Like, good job. Anyway. The labs are right across the way, so be sure to stop by and check it out. Hack Fortress. This is something that I started with some folks, and now Logan's taken over. You got teams, red versus blue, 30-minute rounds, hackers, and Team Fortress 2 players. How many TF2 players are in the room? Woo! Yeah, I wasted a lot of time playing TF2. Now my kids do. Again, 2-year-old, actually pretty decent, likes playing soldier. His rocket jumps aren't real clean, though. So. But the key is the game environments affect each other. So if like the hackers reach an objective, they can at any time they feel like in the future redeem points that they got from that objective to blind the opposing TF2 team or set them on fire or whatever. So the game environment, it's all very interactive with scoreboards. It's all tied together through the source engine. It makes for some interesting gameplay. A couple years ago we had RIT versus Penn State in the finals, and it was like down to the wire. It was actually one of the best sporting events I'd watched all year. It was pretty cool. That must have been the Penn Stater back there applauding. Yeah, Penn State, they play video games real well. They weren't so hot at hacking, so. We have our schedule and scoring and stuff on the App Store and the, I guess, Google Play. I call it the Android market. Because why would you put anything on Google Play that isn't a game? Ghost of Shellcode is back. It's CTF running across the hall down at the very end down here. They have their own video DJ, which I assume is a hackable, but if not, maybe it should be. Anyway, that's in Bunker Hill, which is over there. I think the names of the rooms are on the schedule? Yeah, let's go with that. Train the Trainer. This is a new one that we're doing this year. So the idea here is, I know a lot of you are responsible for training other people or mentoring other people when it comes to specific technologies or things like that. The Train the Trainer folks have a whole bunch of material released through Creative Commons and other open source licenses, and they encourage you to learn from their training material, use their training material for whatever you want, internal, external training, free training, paid training, whatever. But the idea here is we're going to have sessions that run between an hour and 2 hours to help you become a better trainer, give you better techniques, give you better tips in labs and that kind of thing, for everything from reverse engineering to x86 assembly to all the other stuff. So the schedule's in the program. I encourage you to check it out. There's a way I gave the staff today to remember where Train the Trainer is. It was disturbing, so I'm going to do it for you. Imagine my chest is the escalators that you come in from when you drop your car off in the lobby. If you were to walk around my chest and go to my ass, that's where train the trainer is. Okay? Escalators, train the trainer. It's all very simple. You will not forget this. So if you go upstairs, just look for my chest and then find my ass and get trained. So you're not going to forget it. Like, no frickin' way are you forgetting that. Yeah, exactly. You may try. I got some mind bleach. There's other contests. ShmooConography is back if you couldn't tell from the video. There's contests at the sponsor tables. How many people made barcode, SmartCode entries? Woohoo! Good job, buddy. You fuzzed that one. We popped the 949 guys barcode stuff with my 2-year-old. You're going to be the elitist hacker here by the end of this, buddy. There's a hidden contest. Isn't there always? And the winners will be announced at closing. A word about sponsors, and I've kind of mentioned this in the past. We want sponsors to be get value. Hey, come here.
Good, because we need to talk about that.
I need to talk about what?
The hidden contest.
What hidden contest? What's
Well,
wrong with it?
Nothing's wrong with it, but if you figure it out, part of it out, email info, so we have a timestamp.
Oh, so they actually, okay. In years past, we've done cute things like in the contest itself, there was the address of where you should mail it to, and I could tell when people hadn't solved it because they would mail it to us, and we're like, no, that's not where you're supposed to mail it. Apparently this year, if you solved part of the contest, you're supposed to email info@shmoocon.org.
Don't call me.
Do not, yeah, we had people like, I want to text Heidi or call Heidi at 3 o'clock in the morning. I want. I'm like, guess what, guy? You lost, okay? Like, whatever time you finished, someone just finished earlier. That's all I'm going to say. We want the sponsors to be able to get something of value. We also want you to get something of value from the sponsors. It doesn't necessarily mean swag. It just, we encourage sponsors to do something that engages you, to educate you, to do something different. And, you know, it takes a little while sometimes for people to kind of understand what we expect from that. But in general, our sponsors are very good. They're very interactive. You know, we really value their participation here. So, you know, please go to their booths. They're all along the hall. They're in this hall, and then there's overflow in the chill out room as well. And I guess as a, you know, I think it's interesting. We tend to demonize vendors. You know, this goes back a long way, you know. But, well, no. I mean, as an industry, we tend to demonize vendors. And no problem. So you know, oh, we can't have vendor talks on stage. You know, it'd be bad if it was a product pitch. And then you go back to your office, you're like, I need to buy a widget that does this. Does anyone know? God, I wish I went to a conference where people talked about these things. Really, like, you know, we don't build our own firewalls. We don't build our own antivirus if you run it and need it. We don't, yeah, sorry, I'm not going to go down that path. Slippery, that one was. You know, recognize that the people in the hallways and the people that you deal with are part of the solution. And if you don't like the products that they make, that's cool. Let's try to help them build better products, because these companies have a lot of money to build things, and they would like to build things that you want to buy and are going to make us more secure. So find positive ways to, you know, make that happen. Reinforce good behavior. You know, I think we do a fantastic job in this industry of, you know, negative reinforcement, right? You did something bad, oh, you're going to hear about it. Check this Twitter search out. That's everybody talking about you, you know. How many good things happen where everybody's talking about the good things? Nah, maybe 10 to 1, you know. So I would encourage you, please go to the sponsors, you know, be nice. Cycle Override. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to make this quick. Me and JP somewhere. Through a miscommunication, we've decided to ride across the country. Yeah, funny how sometimes miscommunication is I bought margarine instead of butter. This was, hey, let's go on a 4,000-mile bike ride. Okay, you know, he wanted to do a bike ride at DEF CON. I wanted to do a bike ride to DEF CON. We did both, or we're doing both. So we're going to start January 18th in Georgetown. We're going to ride out the C&O Canal. We're going to do the Grand Fondo out in Garrett County. June 18th, dear God. We're going to do the Grand Fondo. For anyone that knows, has ever done that bike ride, it's one of the most punishing bike rides in North America. So we're going to do that to start, and then we're going to ride across the country. Arriving at DEF CON, hopefully before DEF CON, spending a few days in Vegas, then riding to the coast. We'll have the route online shortly. If people want to join us for any or all, please contact us.
Anybody would like to go 20 miles per hour for about 2 months?
Yeah, Heidi gets to drive Chase vehicles with 3 children, so, you know. And we are looking for an intern to help, so I won't call the intern a nanny, but, you know, The term nanny gets thrown around a lot here, so. Lockpick Village is back. They don't need a heck of a lot of introduction. They're kind of a staple here. Go, touch, learn, do. Touch the locks. I should have touched the locks. They have key cutting. They have a new contest. It looks to be pretty cool, so please go check out Lockpick Village. Fire Talks. Okay, Fire Talks is another little mini event that happens in here after hours after we're done. I think the premise we were going to sit next to Rush Limbaugh's fake fire. Not that this is a right-leaning thing or anything, but didn't he have the fake fire on his TV show for a while? That was his shtick. Anyone old enough to remember when Rush Limbaugh was on TV? He's not. I think he's embalmed is the term you're looking for, sir. Anyway, so I have 3 minutes. Are you shooting me? All right, somebody said it. So the idea is the 15-minute talks. They go on to the next one, the next one, the next one. They're in here both nights, starting at 8 o'clock tonight, 6:30 on Saturday. It does require a badge for entry. It's part of ShmooCon, not a separate event. T-shirt charities. This takes a second to explain, so buckle up. You can buy T-shirts. Well, more appropriately, we bought a bunch of T-shirts, and then we donate them, and you guys, in turn, donate money to different charities. In this case, the charity is the EFF, or Hacker for Charity. So you go in, you give us $15, you get a little token, you put the token in your bucket, and at the end, we tally up all the tokens in the bucket, and the EFF get tokens times 15, and Hackers for Charity gets tokens times 15. So that's our gift to them, and your gift to them as well. So hopefully, please go buy some T-shirts. They will be on sale at 4 o'clock. Program says 3. The program, as we've already found out, is a dirty, dirty, dirty lie. Party. 8 to midnight at the, I think the wow. You been there, ma'am, sir? No. I couldn't really tell. I think the correct pronunciation is Ibiza, and us Americans would pronounce it as the Ibiza. There's an open bar relatively far up the shelf, I think to premium level, whatever that means, maybe Schlitz, maybe better. You do need a wristband, but here's the catch. I know we've waited in lines for wristbands before. This is a big venue. There should not be a problem getting people in there. We're going to give away a lot of wristbands. So yeah, it wasn't quite big enough to fit everyone, but not everyone wants to go to this party. So I think in general, we will have a big enough venue that pretty much everybody wants to go is going to go. We'll start giving away wristbands, 1 per customer, Saturday, what? Morning. Saturday morning? So Sunday morning after the event. Saturday morning, we're going to start giving away wristbands at Reg at some point. At 10. The gauntlet has been thrown. Because even when we tell you not to stand in line, you're not going to stand in line anyway. Video and picture policy. This is different for a lot of people. So first of all, a big hell yeah for Ted. Hell yeah. Ted is our resident archival expert. He drives here from the other side of the country. Ted is a bucket of fun, and he busts ass to take care of us, and we really appreciate it. We'll be selling, he sells DVDs. We'll be posting things online. Ted is fan-freaking-tastic. Please say thank you to Ted. Yeah, Ted will have whistles and maybe a cape later. And do you still have the cruise control stick? Oh, he used to have a stick that had little notches on it for speeds, and that's how he got across the country. It's pretty cool. Videos being streamed live on Ustream. Hi, people on Ustream. I expect you all to type in the channel now. Hi. I was going to say something offensive after that, but I figured I don't need a bunch of people yelling at me on the internet. I already got it. Good. Is that hot? No, good. I guess he's grown up to be like Dad. Yeah, he knows a lot of F-bomb jokes already, as it turns out. He does say what the hell. He likes Team Fortress, and one day I was having a pretty bad match, and I said what the hell a bunch, and he got done. He was toddling around the house going, what the hell, what the hell, what the hell? The dog would eat his food. What the hell? I'm like, oh, even knows it in context. Like, that's not good. Picture policy. So this is different, and listen up, because it's important. A lot of people go to conferences, and they don't know, or the conferences don't have a picture policy. We do, okay? And it's not because we're trying to control the content, right? We give it all away for free. It's all online. We're not trying to scoop anyone. There's no goddamn embargo, right? This is for the protection of the people here. There are people here that have jobs, and they don't want to be identified with what they do for whatever reason. That's their prerogative, right? Old school hacker ethos. Don't take my goddamn picture unless I said it was okay. So, no shots of the audience. There's no pictures allowed in these rooms, period. I know it's kind of a pain because we want to tweet everything for all our friends to know where we are. Deal with it, all right? Everyone that's in frame when you're shooting out in the hallways or outside needs to be made aware and needs to be okay with it. If you're snapping photos of people and you do not have their permission, we will kindly ask you to stop, and then we will kindly ask you to leave if you don't listen. This applies to everyone that attends the con as well as the press, okay? We have 2 official photogs. These 2 guys up front, they have big cameras. Stand up, yeah, there we go. So they're wearing staff gear and carrying cameras. They roam around, and if you want your shot going down the roller coaster, they'll take it for you. But beyond that, press will be identified with a press badge. It's got a little blue moose symbol on an orange background, says press. Press, yeah, there's a press badge. It's attached to your crotch. We can just leave it there, sir. He likes his job. Friendly warnings, there's lots of warnings in the program regarding the hotel. Yeah, I know what the hotel room keys are, guys. Please, don't. Yeah, no. You're responsible for any crimes that you commit. We will ask you to leave if you're being a jackass. And the hotel may have other things in mind. So please, we try to make this a positive event. Respect the hotel, respect our venue. They're doing a lot to help us. We would like to help them by not being jerks. So please, and I know hacking's not a jerky thing to do. Well, you're breaking into somebody's room, it's a jerky thing to do, and it's illegal. So, there's a long line of badness there. So please don't do anything stupid. Key staff, we say this so if you have questions you can ask, but in general we don't discriminate between security staff and otherwise. Everyone wears a staff shirt. It's our expectation. You can walk up to anyone in one of these fancy gray shirts, ask them a question, and they will at least point you to the person who's supposed to be responsible. Heidi is the leader of the pack. She has a lot to do. Please find other people to ask questions of before you find her. Unless it's a life safety issue, then just go find someone who can deal with a life safety issue. Ken and Louise, now I'm not going to introduce everybody. For the speakers, Bob over there, if you could stand up, he's the guy in charge of all the stuff that happens up here on stage, and he's your liaison with the hotel. If you have anything in particular, you can ask him.
Speakers should make their way back to registration at some point to pick up their feedback.
Oh, well, I'll get to feedback in a second. Okay. I'll get to feedback in a second. Look at that. The one time someone said, in a second, it was a goddamn second. Now, that was a freaking miracle. Yeah, thank you, Ted. So feedback.shmoocon.org is not yet online, unfortunately. It'll be ready tomorrow. And speakers, you need a special little thing to get on there to leave feedback to. If you want to leave feedback, that will be available for you at Reg. You can go back there at any point and pick it up. Please provide feedback. It's useful for us, it's useful for the speakers, and we like to think if it's useful for those groups, then it's useful for everybody. So if you saw a good talk, a bad talk, had a good experience, a bad experience, please let us know. It's anonymous. We're not going to come find you, unless you want us to and you want to provide more information. We're happy to chat. So anyway, that is it. I would open the floor for questions, but that's not how we work it, and I'm late. So, because I think technically we started at 3:30? 5 minutes ago, see? All right, so in that case, we're going to take a very short breather. Feel free to go do whatever you can do in the next 3 minutes, and we'll get the track started.